This is the Digital Marketing Experts Podcast episode. No, why am I trying to sound like a radio announcer? Experts on the Wire, episode 34. John Doherty. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 34 of Experts on the Wire. Just a quick message before we get into today's show. I do all the audio editing and kind of the sound aspects of this podcast, and I take the sound quality of it very seriously. However, sometimes there's things that happen with the sound that you just can't control. In today's interview, we had a few issues with Skype. It cuts out a little bit here and there. And also the gain on my microphone during the interview was a little hot, so there's a little distortion there. So it's just one of those things that happens sometimes. However, I feel that we captured such a great interview with so many nuggets of advice between myself and John. He talks about advice for newbies getting into SEO. So if you're just getting into the SEO industry, becoming a freelancer, how he builds his email lists, how to find a mentor, how to provide value to your mentor if you're the mentee, mistakes that bad SEO agencies make, and how he attracts and sends up to 50 leads a month spread across 35 marketing agencies in his marketing marketplace called Credo. I use the word marketing a lot. But again, I apologize for the audio quality in this episode. If this is the very first show you're listening to, it is usually not like this. It's usually very crisp and clear like you hear it now. And moving forward, again, you shouldn't expect these kind of Skype glitches. That I think the interwebs were a little overloaded. So I hope you enjoy today's episode of Experts on the Wire with John Doherty. Do you know that almost the day, it's almost the 5-year anniversary that I interviewed you for my blog.
Are you serious?
Yes, 5 years ago. September 6th, 2011, and I'll send the link to you, and we're gonna talk a little bit about one thing we talked about in that interview 5 years ago. But isn't it funny how things kind of circle around like that?
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I can't believe it's been. I remember the interview. I can't believe it's been almost 5 years. That's just where I have no clue.
Yeah, crazy. Anyways, John, I wanted to jump in to your background first. Can you give us a quick, 90, 120 second history of your background in the marketing world?
Definitely. I'll try to keep it to that. So I got started in marketing in about 2009. I was helping to run a book publishing company. I was based in Switzerland, in English language books, and kind of found SEO and digital marketing through that. And then I moved back to the States in 2010 and moved to Philadelphia and got my first real full-time SEO job building links for a for-profit education website and a small agency that owned a few of these lead generation sites, and then moved on from there to Distilled and consulted with clients of all types, VC, or seed stage tech startups, all the way up to some of the largest like hotel chains in the world. And then I moved on from there, and there I was SEO, content marketing, that sort of thing, like traditional SEO stuff, and a little bit into other channels. And then I got my job full time at HotPads.com, which is owned by Zillow, and was there for about 18 months where I oversaw all inbound marketing, SEO, content marketing, link building, PR, etc. Moved on from there to Trulia Rentals, was there for only about 5 months doing leading growth marketing on the rental, SEO and email, and some on mobile apps. And then for about the last year, I've been working for myself, consulting with clients and building my own product called Credo, Credo.com. So I've been in marketing full time for about 6 years now.
Awesome. And you've really seen it all in terms of the consulting, working in-house, working for an agency. Can you speak quickly to the benefit or anything that you learned or really like the benefit of being in all those different scenarios?
Geez, I can try. There's a lot to it. I mean, I think just overall as a marketer, as a professional, it's been super valuable to me to have seen everything from the different sides, because I understand the consultant side and, why a consultant might not respond straight away or things of that nature. From the in-house side, hiring agencies, working with agencies, having more of a take on the overall strategy behind the business and really being embedded in it and knowing why certain decisions are being made, that sort of thing. And So being able to take that perspective now as a consultant again, back to is super, super valuable.
Awesome. And I do know from some of the emails I get that some listeners of the show are people kind of getting into SEO. Maybe they're doing some consulting. They're thinking about working in-house. Would you recommend that somebody at some point in their career try to work in-house or at an agency?
I would say that they should work at both. I think you learn very different things at the two places. And it's not so much around tactics or specific skills that you might learn. You'll probably get more of those, honestly, at an agency working across a lot of different verticals. But in-house, you get to really go deep and you learn more of like the business strategy and that sort of thing. So I definitely think that people should get sides. I know some of the guests had that experience as well, and they've definitely seen it to be valuable as well. So it really just depends on the stage that you're at within your career.
Awesome. So I want to jump up to today. You're running a business called Credo. Am I saying that right? Credo?
You are saying that correctly.
Yeah, excellent. So tell us a little bit about this company. What's the problem that you're solving, and I guess what led you into this idea in the first place?
Yeah, for sure. So Credo is basically, the best way to think about it is a marketplace. It's a place where businesses that are looking to grow through digital marketing, really focusing on SEO, content marketing, and PPC, paid social as well. So Facebook primarily can come to find a consultant or agency that can help them grow. So really it's businesses, and I'm focusing on the SMB market. So businesses that have $4,000 a month to spend to grow their business through those channels. So I started it really about 3.5 years ago under hiregun.co was the old name, and started that a few years ago because I myself I saw a few problems. I myself was getting out of consulting and needed somewhere good to send my clients and also other leads I was getting through I was blogging a ton at the time. I also was working with some SMBs at the time, businesses in New York primarily, who had been hurt by past agencies and had manual penalties and that sort of thing. I mean, Dan, owning your own business, like your business is your baby, and when it's hurting, you're hurting. Not just financially. So I was really frustrated at that. So I really wanted to figure out how I could help businesses find the highest quality agencies and consultants. So the business kind of ticked along for a few years. Been in the black the whole time. I didn't even buy the domain name until I had sold the first lead, and it's gone through a bunch of different iterations from pay by the lead to commission, and now it's a subscription platform, subscription model. But and obviously the brand change and all that. But I started on it full time end of this September 2015. So really going on a year ago now, which is when I parted ways with Zillow Group with Trulia.
Got it. So, as transparently as you can you give us an idea of some numbers for Credo? I guess maybe on the agency side, how many agencies are represented in Credo?
Yes, there are about 35 agencies and consultants on the platform right now.
Got it. And on the other side, I mean, how many leads are you filtering in through Credo a month?
It depends on the month. The summer is definitely slower because people are on vacation and that sort of thing, and they're kind of heads down with working on things throughout the summer. But most months it's around 40 to
50 leads a month is what John says there.
Some of those are open to agencies who have subscribed, who are on the top levels, and that's about half of them, and about half go directly to pros. Who are the professionals on the platform that have their own profile, and so they're contacted directly through that. So that's about the level I'm at right now.
Awesome. So one thing I really want to focus on and talk about is kind of the marketing aspects of Credo. You're in an interesting place where I know that you had some prior relationships probably with a lot of the agencies already from being in the industry. So I would imagine that it wasn't so much about marketing to them. It was more about introducing them to the platform, getting them on board. So what was that process like for you as far as getting the agencies into kind of a platform like Credo, getting them listed and onboarded and that whole thing? How did that process go?
Yeah, an iterative process, because for a long time I had this group of people that literally was in a Google sheet that I knew kind of how much work that they could take, how much they charged, kind of businesses they worked in. And so it really started off with me inviting people to, receive leads. And then they would kind of tell me, fill out a Google form and tell me what kind of information or what kind of projects they took. And then from there, it went to actually building out about a year ago, building out profiles on the site. And so that really made it so they could, edit their own information and tell, publicly how much they charge and kinds of projects they take and that sort of thing. So it wasn't a challenge, definitely at first, to get pros on the platform because, they had nothing to lose, right? It was, get leads. And if you close one, then you pay a small commission. So when I made the change back in May to the subscription model, which is what it is now, which has worked out really well on all sides, I think. There are some people that definitely jumped on and were like, yep, I've been wanting to get on for a long time. There are others that have more questions. And I've gone through a couple different iterations with that, where at first I allowed just anyone to, and I realized that wasn't working super well because people who really weren't the ideal pro for the platform were signing up and they were churning out quick after about a month or two. And really time to know if it was going to, provide value for them long term, just because consulting projects take a while to close, month, 2 months, sometimes longer. And so now I require everyone to do a phone call with me ahead of time. And basically I accept them and invite them that way. So so it's definitely changed over time. But I think starting it the way I did with it, basically them having no skin in the game and me figuring out the processes has definitely enabled it to get to where it is now.
Awesome. Now let's get to the other side of things, which I think might be more interesting in terms of getting the companies that are looking for agencies. What kind of things, channels, tactics, processes have you gone through to attract the companies that are looking to hire these solution providers? It's
a great question. And I get asked it quite a bit. And the answer is that I'm not doing anything tricky or special that other lead generation, companies don't do, right? There's, SEO, content, social media marketing. I tested like Facebook advertising, which is currently turned off because I wasn't seeing the return that I needed. I'm thinking about doing some paid or testing out, paid search and those channels. The channel that's really built the platform, honestly, is referrals. So agencies that are on the platform that, they get a lot of inquiries that they can't take, whether for whatever reason, whether it's they have a client in the same space or they're full up with work or whatever, getting them to Credo. And really kind of my goal is if someone is coming to an agency in the space that's good and they're looking for good and that agency can't take them, basically they're not going to be able to avoid finding Credo and finding someone through Credo. And I have a couple other partnerships I'm working on that haven't come to fruition yet, so I'm not going to talk about them publicly at this point. But that's been absolutely huge for the platform overall.
So let's talk about content for a minute. A week or two ago, you posted an SEO tools post, and I've got your tweet right here. You made a comment saying that even after 6 years in the industry, sometimes you still can never predict what's going to work, like what's going to get traction, traffic, and so forth. So tell us about that post. Where did the idea come from, and why do you think it was such a big hit? And for anyone curious, I'll link to the exact post in the show notes.
It's a great question, and that's such a funny post to me because I've been blogging for a long time in the digital marketing space and put a lot of time and effort into posts, and that you put a ton of effort into just don't get any traction. They just don't resonate with people. They don't get shared. They don't get uploaded on inbound.org or Growth Hackers or somewhere like that. And that post was actually kind of a last minute thing where I had just gotten back into town, or no, I guess I'd been back from vacation for about a week and a half, and was really thinking through, what content should I put out there? Like I need to write a blog post. I try to write a blog post a week on publicly on Credo, on the Credo blog. I try to do the same thing on my own site as well, but that one takes less of a priority than the blog. But I kind of go through months where I'll do a lot of consulting and then months where I won't do any and will just concentrate on the product just for my own sanity and, cash flow sake and all that. I've been doing a bunch of like heavy lifting, auditing, keyword research, that sort of thing. And I hadn't really done some of that in quite a while. And so I was looking through the content available online, and there's a lot of content out there with just ultimate guides to tools, but there's no but I couldn't really find any direct, this is what I use for this. This is what I use for this. This is what I use for this. And so I was like, screw you. a post about the tools that I use every day, the tools that I love that I use every day. And I'm not going to try to make it a comprehensive list. I said that up front. And I just went with that. And I think I listed like 4 or 5 main tools and then 4 or 5 Chrome extensions that I use every single day. And I think that's actually why it took off, because I said, I'm not trying to be this. I'm not trying to do this. This exists. This is what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to tell you exactly what I use, because, it hasn't been done that way before. And it's funny kind of the reactions that I've gotten, because some people will comment and say like, oh, you should list more tools. I'm like, I'm not going to list more tools because I literally don't have more tools I use every day, right? Like, you're kind of missing the point of it. And so I think it's kind of looking at it retrospectively, where the post has been out almost a week now, I guess. I think it caught on because I'm not different ways. I'm not making an apology, for doing it a different way. And it wasn't what people expected. They expect to see an ultimate guide. They don't expect to see, a shorter list of things. And it kind of, I think, has gone against people's like intuitions and what they've become accustomed to. And so they're reacting to it, which I think is fantastic. It's been really fun.
Yeah, I think just to echo a point you made, the value that I saw in what you did was that you're the curator of somebody that's in the trenches, like you've been doing the work for so many years, that you really have an expert eye on what the best tools are and how to curate that and separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. And there's a value in that as well. So for anybody else out there, if you're in an industry, where you have a high level of expertise, don't necessarily create the ultimate guide. Think about how can you curate and make people's lives easier by telling them, look, if you only want to use 5 tools, these are the 5 that I use. And you can look at all these other 20, 30, 40 tools, but these are the 5 that I would stick with. And here's what they do. And I think what you said there really showed the value of the post. So I also want to talk about your email list. I know I'm on your email list and I get them every once in a while. So talk to me about how your email list has helped Credo.
So which email list are you talking about? A few of them out there.
I don't know. I know I do get an email from you, I think, announcing new blog posts and maybe new features, or like just it might be once a week or twice a week.
Yeah, so I have a couple different ones. There's one list that's specifically to pros and people who've expressed an interest in being on the platform, that goes out every week, every Thursday. I also have like an auto-generated email list, or RSS email that goes out to subscribers to the and I also have my own personal email list. So it's been, email is something that I've been trying to do a lot more of over the last. So
I believe John says the last few years, right there.
I was working at HotPads and Trulia, and just seeing the immense value that it drives, and honestly the immense traffic and conversions that it drives. So, and there's the transactional email side, like the automatically triggered email side of the product, which I don't really have to think about, and I've set up different flows and such to kind of bring people down the funnel, or get pros to respond and that sort of thing, education and all that. But when it comes to like the actual marketing, those have been really cool because it enables me to keep in touch with the pros, first of all, right? Like making sure I'm talking to them providing them value, offering them tips on consulting or agency growth, or the digital marketing industry overall, what have you. My personal email list has been super fun recently because I read a lot of blog posts, I read a lot of books, and there's in a lot of different areas, right? In finance, in entrepreneurship, in digital marketing, and there's just a lot of noise out there. And I'm all about, at this point, really trimming down what you're reading, trimming down kind of the information that is coming in, just because we simply can't handle the information fire hose. Like I can't handle the information fire hose. And so I'm personally trying to trim down and find the signal through the noise. And so what I've been doing is every week, every Tuesday, I send out an email highlighting one blog post, and it's usually one of mine or one of my friends. And then I also link to 7 other blog posts that I found, or 6 or 7 other blog posts. I think it's 7 links total, six others that I found really interesting. It's just kind of a smattering of content from around the internet, stuff I've been reading, stuff I've been thinking about. And that one's been really, really cool because I've a lot of responses from just random people saying like, thank you for linking to this. That's exactly what I needed to see today. And I think that really helps keep me grounded and keep me in touch with the industry and what people are thinking about. So there's definitely the, side providing value to subscribers and being consistent. And then on the other hand, I also learn a lot from the responses I get from people. So yeah, I mean, I think email marketing is still one of the most under leveraged channels.
Definitely. So how are you building your list?
So building my email list, I have a few ways to do it. On Credo signups, a couple different lists that people can find depending on where they are on the site. I use the Sumo Me list builder plugin. Mm-hmm. Me came out of AppSumo, founded by Noah Kagan, based down in Austin, and it's great for for building kind of targeted email lists. So I use it on my personal site. I use it on Credo. I really try to be smart about how I show pop-ups. I don't want to annoy people. I'm not going to show them like a big huge welcome mat on their and ask them to subscribe when I haven't provided them any value. So why am I going to ask them to subscribe? But trying to be really nice about it, but then also, being very clear about it in different like calls to action and that sort of thing. Something that's worked really well for me actually, over time, and I need to do more of this is, so to build the Credo list, I initially got traction on it by doing giveaways. I gave away a copy of Patty Mugen's link building book, a copy of Nick Eubanks's, keyword research guide. And that really like helped me to build like the initial email list. So, offering people value for something, right? And offering them the opportunity. So yeah, there's a bunch of different ways that you can go about doing that. It really just depends on, your connections, your business, your audience, and what you.
I want to circle back to something you said a few minutes ago. We were talking about how you get the companies in the door that are looking for agencies. You mentioned the agencies themselves actually referring companies to you. And what I want to dig into a little and circle back there must be some way that you communicate with the agencies, whether they're pro or not. Like I know that I was in Credo for a little while. I'm not pro, full disclosure. I'm not pro in Credo. I have no, like stakes in this or anything, but I remember how you communicated with me, and I actually I just sent you a referral today. I sent somebody a link to the Get Credo SEO consultants page.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, there must have been something about how you went about communicating with the agencies that helped build trust between you and them, that they're comfortable in referring people to your site. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, totally. I think part of it is, a lot of the pros on there are, to be completely honest, my friends. They're people that I've known, or if not friends, they're acquaintances and, business contacts and people I've known through the industry, for a while. So, I think it's, people trust me, and they know that, I like to take care of people and, I try to be a nice guy and I'm a person. And, so I think that's I also know feedback from people that what I'm building is really solving a problem in the industry, because there wasn't another place basically said this is these are the people that we stand behind, that they've been vetted, we've seen their work. Every pro that's on the platform has to tell me 2 of their clients and the project that they've done, and I've definitely emailed a bunch of those and gotten their feedback and asked for reviews, that sort of thing. So I think really the big reason is it's solving a felt need and a felt problem where we're building out their own lists and saying like, oh, I can send them to so-and-so or so-and-so. And people definitely do, if I'm willing to do it for them and, basically curate a list of people that I trust. Really, a lot of people will send leads that come to them that they can't service for whatever reason. They'll send them either to Rand's recommended list on Moz, which I am on as well as a. Also, he was nice enough to link to Credo from there, saying if you can't, find someone here, then go to Credo. So yeah, and I'm serving a different need, than Rand's list. Rand's list is really business agencies that are in like the $5,000 a month plus range, and I'm trying to serve a small budget. So it's I think I'm solving a very real problem there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it speaks to the value of building relationships over a long period of time and developing trust with people over a long period of time. So tons of value in that. I want to talk a little bit about your knowledge about the SEO agency world, because you obviously interact with a lot of them. Are there any big, like, so you mentioned a little while ago about how you saw companies more or less running into problems with other agencies. They were getting penalties. They weren't getting value work. What are some of the mistakes you're seeing some of these agencies making versus agencies that actually do good work?
I think when it comes down to what makes a good agency versus a bad agency, there are a number of things. Obviously, the first one is quality of work, right? Can they actually do the work that they say that they're going to do? And can they actually get you the results that they say that they're going to get you? And that can really be, and you really kind of suss that out in the beginning stages of talking to an agency. If you're a business looking to hire an agency, asking them, for case studies and, can you talk to some of their other clients and that sort of thing. And you can really learn a lot about them there. But then there are also a lot of the intangibles that you don't really expect. Things like how they communicate deadlines and set expectations and all of that sort of thing that really at the end of the day affects whether a project is going to be successful or not. So I think the biggest when you're specifically asking about, agencies getting businesses, penalties and that sort of thing. I mean, some of that, remember this was like 2011, 2012. So there was still a lot of spammy link building tactics going on and that sort of thing that I think are less of a risk these days. But really it came from the businesses that were affected like this by their agencies. They weren't educating themselves. And they weren't keeping an eye on what was going on, right? What links were you building? What's our traffic doing? All of that kind of thing, and educating themselves, like what kind of links are good, and what are some of the different things that I would expect an agency to do if they're building links for me, for example. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Definitely. And so what are some of the pros? What are some of the things, like, of the companies that are listed in Credo? What are the common things that they have that they're doing well that you look for commonly?
So a big part of it is how well do they treat their clients? And, are they a good person? Are they, good to chat with, good to deal with? Can they explain themselves well? Basically, like, are they a good consultant? Those soft skills are super, super important. And I think it's, and that's really builds a good name. And then, looking at their results, looking at the kind of work that they do. I do ask for a website, websites of people that they've worked with. And I'll go check them out in SEMrush and Open Site Explorer and all the places like that to see, based off what they told me, are those numbers actually going in the right direction? Are they actually providing good work? And, if I see if I see spammy stuff, I think that this hasn't happened yet, but like if I saw spammy links in their backlink profile, for example, okay, probably not, the kind of person that I want on Credo, definitely not the kind of person that I want on Credo. So yeah, those are some of the ways that I, check them out and vet them. So it's a combination of, are they a good business? Are they reputable? Do they actually have the bandwidth to do all the things that they say that they can do, right? Or are they just saying that they'll do anything because they're generalists, but they don't actually do anything well? So, do they actually have like the business scale and the business, organization to be able to serve people well? And then, are they actually a good marketer?
Awesome. So you probably see a lot of leads come in. You're probably seeing how people are. So when a lead comes in, are you able to see what the business owner is looking for? Do they often kind of describe their needs, or is it more of a form that gets filled out and then you just kind of see the data and then the leads get kind of filtered to the right agency?
Yeah, so it's definitely a form that they fill it to make it scalable. That's the way that it works. But I do, I see all the information that comes through, and every lead has to basically provide, this is what I'm looking to do, right? I'm looking to increase my traffic. These are the channels in my budget. And then I do ask them to give, I think I say a 2 to 4 sentence, kind of explanation about what they're looking for. And some people will put a long one. Some people will put a couple sentences. And it's interesting that I can kind of tell who's actually going to sign, who's going to be good based off of, the thought that they put into it. So yeah, there's a bunch of information, just so that, the leads are highly qualified when they get sent out to pros on.
Excellent. Yeah, that was a qualifying question to my next question, because I realized it wouldn't make sense if I asked this unless I made sure that actually happens on your end. So since you're seeing this 2 to 4 sentence thing for all the leads that come in, are there common things that you're seeing that they're looking for? Common problems, commonalities that show up lead after lead after lead? Like, for example, sometimes I still see leads that come into me. People are looking for quick results when it comes to SEO. They think that they can do a 2-month project and then see a big jump in their rankings, and they kind of expect that quick turnaround. Are there any commonalities that you see with the leads that are coming into to Credo?
Yeah, I think I've been kind of maybe not lucky, but I've definitely gone about trying to educate people a lot about what real. So I have a minimum on the site where the minimum project that comes through is going to be dollars. So I'm not trying to do any of like the I'm looking to spend $200 on link building and 4x my business, sort of things.
And how much was that limit again? Skype cut out real quick.
Sorry, the limit is $1,000 a month.
Okay.
Or just $1,000 for a project, $1,000 a month. It is kind of up to the lead to decide which one it is for them. But so really the reason for that is to qualify out the super low quality stuff that really like good agencies don't want to work on. Right? Good agencies don't really take $200 a month link building projects, for example. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a mix. I've definitely had the ones that come through that they're like, I'm just looking at engagement or whatever, and then I can go do it myself. Which ones, if they're just looking for an audience, but like longer term stuff, that's going to be a challenge. And so, this is one of the challenges of, scaling a business like this, where when you're trying to scale a business like this, that kind of thing is going to come through, but they've been few and far between. And I've definitely caught some that have gone, that have come through where it's, honestly kind of spammy. And I go in and I delete it and I send an update email to everyone that got emailed about it saying like, this lead has been deleted because it was, not up to our quality standards. And I've only had people thank me for that. And not, no one said like, oh, I really wanted that lead, right? Because it's a junk lead. They don't want business anyways. So, I try to be open. I try to be transparent. I try to be on top of things, like that in order to keep the quality super high.
Excellent. Yeah. I'm trying to mix up also my response words in these interviews because somebody commented on my blog. I interviewed John Mueller last week, and I guess I said got it a lot in response. So I'm trying to say awesome, excellent. Yeah, thanks. Trying to mix it up a little. So I mentioned that I interviewed you almost 5 years ago to the date. It was September 6, 2011. This was when I was starting in the SEO industry as well, kind of publicly starting to publish my first blog post. I'll link to this in the show notes, but there's one question I want to circle back to, and I want to see if you have an updated answer to this. This is about newbies in the SEO industry. So I actually got a couple emails in the last week or two of people that listen to Experts on the Wire saying that they were relatively new to the SEO industry and that this podcast was providing them value in that regard because it's helping them kind of get their feet wet, get a knowledge about the SEO industry as a whole. So my question that I asked you in 2011 was, is there anything else you want to add maybe for people looking to get into SEO? Like, where do you start? What would you recommend? And your response was, it's a few sentences, so bear with me, people, but let me read this whole thing. So John, you said, just go do it. Follow a bunch of sites in your RSS reader, get on Twitter, engage with people, following influencers, retweet their stuff, engage with them as a real person, read everything you can, and just go do it. Build a site of your own, build out a couple of sites on your own around something you are really passionate about. If you have friends that are starting businesses, or if your parents have a business, or you know anyone with a small business, just do some work for free for them at first. Practice, exclamation point. That's the way you get good. You just have to do it. And I love that answer, but I'm curious if the 2016 John has an updated version of that answer.
I think I would stand behind all of that still to this day. I do think that there's a lot of people out there that are looking to become quote unquote an authority or an influencer, but don't actually want to put in the time to do the work, to go deep into it, and to really hone their craft. So I definitely think all of those things apply. I've learned so much through, building my own sites, building my own companies, building other people's companies, consulting, etc. So I would definitely stand by all of that. The one thing that I did not say there that I've since come to really realize is the importance of mentors and peers in the industry. So really finding people that are more experienced than you, who you read their stuff, you talk with them, about things, and really you digest everything that they're talking about, right? And that people who are where you're trying to go, right? It's not going to do you really any good to follow SaaS, like software as a service entrepreneur, if you're trying to build an agency. So follow agency owners, follow people who have who are a couple years in. And really think of them as a mentor. Also having people that are on the same trajectory as getting started as well. So I was really lucky 2010, 2011, like Mike King, for example, who now runs, his own agency, I Pull Rank, Tom Critchlow, Ross Hudgens. I consider peers, I consider friends. Were kind of at the same point in their career as me. They were kind of at the same point in their career as me then as well, like just getting started. Even like Tom Critchlow, and we all just kind of came up, together. And now they're kind of my circle of influence. So I think finding, both people that are a bit ahead of you, and then finding people that are walking alongside you. I didn't appreciate at that time because I was just going through it, but looking back in hindsight, those have been some of the biggest things that have happened to me in my career.
Yeah, so I want to touch upon the just go do it, build a site of your own, that aspect of it. Do you think it's harder now in 2016 to build a site from scratch, create the content, do all these things on your own, just to get to the point of practicing SEO? Like, it seems like SEO is in a very different place now, where it's a little harder to do in some regards, and it might take more elbow grease, more effort. Like it might be better almost for somebody to jump in on a site that already exists. What are your feelings on that? Is it still possible to kind of start this hobby site from scratch just to get to the point where you're actually practicing SEO on your own?
Definitely, because then you understand what it's like to start fresh. You understand what it's like to have a domain that has no authority to it. It's, like figuring out, okay, what are the first links that I should build, and how do I do that? So then you're learning outreach, and you're learning all of that. You're learning keyword research, because you're not going to repetitive things. Like, I think all of those things are super, super valuable, and can teach you huge lessons. I do think there is something to jumping in and learning on sites as well that have already established and may already have some traction, right? Which is why I'm talking about, going and working on, your parents' friends' dentist, right? And really starting to learn, learning that way and learning what it takes to kind of take something to the next level. So yeah, but I definitely think it's, it's possible to do that these days. If you want to start a marketing blog, like, there aren't a lot of them out there doing much anymore. So we're probably about due for a renaissance of, digital marketing content, like actually good digital marketing content. There's a lot of crap out there, actually good stuff out there teaching people how to do things. So yeah, I do definitely think it's possible. And I think that people should go and do it. And from an SEO perspective, if it helps to understand what all goes into actually launching a site, right? It's super easy now. You can use Squarespace. You can use, I don't know, you can use Weebly, I guess. I don't know why you would. WordPress. I do all my stuff on WordPress still. Back in the day, it was super hard to install a WordPress site. I learned so much installing a WordPress site onto hosting, self-hosting that I had, bought from Bluehost. So yeah, like that in and of itself, you're going to be frustrated, but you're also going to learn, and it's going to help you out so much in the future.
Awesome. See, I love the point about mentors, and it's really ironic you mentioned that, because I found the mentor that I had for 2 years, Sujan Patel, through your tweet. You tweeted his article when he stepped down from his company, Single Grain. I left it, you can go read this to this day. I left a blog comment on his article saying that one of my goals in the year 2014 was to find a mentor, and the rest is history from there. He mentored me for 2 years, which is really funny, but that's kind of an outlying thing, right? It's not always that easy to find a mentor. So are there any specific recommendations you have for people that want to find a mentor officially or not officially, just to find these people, to connect with them?
Good, really good question there. I feel like I'm saying that this whole time is going to be my got it that you had. So great question, Dan.
Got it.
I think it's similar to how you went about it, right? So following people that you think are interesting, who influencers in the space are talking to, or talking about people that are speaking at the big such, and engaging with them, and coming to see, like, do I like this person? Do I respect this person? Right? There are a lot of people out there that are really good, maybe might not be a good personality fit for you, for a mentor or whatever, right? They think about business differently, and so really, like, don't focus on finding someone immediately, but over time, build relationships and build respect for people. And then really it comes down to, connecting with them personally. Send them an email, find a reason to send them an email. That you're like, oh, I have an answer for that. Can I shoot you an email, and start that conversation there. I hear how you did it with Sujan. I think people could learn a lot from that. And I love Sujan. He's a great guy. He's been a good friend over the last years. I've been getting my own thing off the ground.
Yeah, and I think you highlighted you predicted my next question, which is the mentor-mentee relationship needs to provide value in both directions. And my question was going to be, how do you provide value as the mentee to the mentor? And you mentioned just shooting them an email, helping them with an issue. Is there anything else that comes to mind for you as somebody else that's had mentors? How do you provide value to the mentor as the mentee?
As someone who has both had mentors and also been a mentor, I think honestly, the best thing that you can do is to actually go and do the work and to try things. Like, I get no greater pride on I coach, or that they actually take my feedback, they think about it, they ask great questions, then they go and try it. Because it makes them better, it makes me better. And something that worked for me might not work for them, and we can really, brainstorm and kind of work towards where they are trying to go. Like, I do some coaching for agency owners that are trying to get better at sales or better at consulting, or just trying to figure out where they're kind of heading with their business. And I had one guy that I was doing some consulting with, coaching with, that he went from closing about 35 to 40% of the pitches that he did to closing about 70 to 75%.
Wow.
And just seeing that was just absolutely amazing. Like, he's basically doubled his business work that we did together. And that in and of itself is just like that it's like, value that someone that I've been a mentor to can give back to me, where they've actually like gone into results and built a great life.
Yeah. And I love that answer, because Sujan helped do the same for us. And then it reflects back on him, because now I'm somebody out there saying Sujan was able to help our business. And then it's not only helping me, but it's helping prove that he can get results. And so that's a huge value to the person mentoring. I love that answer. You tweeted the other day that you want to try to make it a plan of yours to learn more about AdWords. I think you confessed over Twitter that you've run maybe 2 or 3 AdWords campaigns. And I think that can be common among SEOs, people on the organic side. I myself have run maybe a small handful of AdWords campaigns. I know a lot about AdWords just because it relates to organic SEO so much. But why is it important to you as a marketer to keep learning new things like AdWords?
Simply because the target changes. SEO has changed an unbelievable amount since I got into it, since I first started learning about it back in like 2008, 2009. What worked then doesn't work now, or it's super risky now. So yeah, I mean, things are constantly changing along. And you never know like what's going to be expected of you. So I think staying current with with the different trends, and I'm not saying that by that tweet, I'm saying that like it's just something that I think I need to learn, for the good of my own business, because I think it's a very valid channel. Obviously, people spend billions of dollars a year on advertising and build their. So I feel like I'm kind of missing something in that case, but at the same time, it makes me a more well-rounded marketer and business person to know it. Plus, I also I'm not operating on a 1 year 1 year lens or a 2 year lens, right? I'm operating on the fact that like I'm 32 years old and I'm probably going to work for another 20 years, right? I mean, I'd love to retire in my early 50s, right? So I'm probably going to work for another 20 years. I've been a professional. I've been working for 9 years. So I'm maybe 30% of the way. So I need to keep learning. I need to keep having this attitude of, learning and being humble and, trying to gain new skills, simply because things are going to change so much over the next, 20 years. And we can't even foresee a lot of it, right? But, by staying current, you can kind of identify those trends and, and keep building that way.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because your answer was different than what I predicted in my head. And I'm going to go in that direction now for a second. You're also a photographer. And where I was predicting that would go is thinking about how you can take maybe the mindset that you might learn from AdWords and apply it to SEO or apply it to content, apply your ability to write really concise, click-worthy titles to your blog posts. But is there any value you see as a marketer in learning other disciplines within marketing, like AdWords, or outside of marketing, like photography?
I personally get bored easily, and so I want to learn, about a lot of different things. I'll kind of, get on a kick and I'll go deep, and I want to get to the point where like I understand it, well enough, kind of glean the things that are gonna, affect my life and move on, right? Whether that's AdWords, like by learning AdWords, I'm going to learn a lot more about like ROI and calculating ROI and that sort of thing. I'm going to learn more about keyword research. It's also going to stretch me because I like to kind of like set things and forget it. And you constantly need to be optimizing and, getting words, which is something I'm not looking forward to, but it's also something that's going to teach me a lot about myself. And when it comes to other things in life, right, whether it's photography and, getting pretty good at that, which is something I haven't really done a lot with, or, personal finance, which is something I'm really interested in right now. They add value like to your life, right? And I think honestly, when it comes to creative and it's being curious, this is something that Tom Critchlow talks about a lot about, and wanting to gain those new skills and how can this going to enrich my life. So I want to keep that mindset of curiosity, creativity, and playfulness as I go through life.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Just to echo again, Tom Critchlow's philosophy on being curious is so important. I mean, even when it comes down to diagnosing like an SEO issue, just that natural curiosity of wanting to know why something ranks in Google, that alone is hugely valuable for sure. So I want to ask, just as we kind of circle things around the last 10 minutes or so, are there any marketers you really look up to, or entrepreneurs in general?
Yeah, there definitely are. I mean, I definitely have the big names that I kind of treat as, people I'll probably never meet, but they, have taught me a lot, and I appreciate how they've gone about building their businesses, right? So people like Richard Branson, I think is great, and has obviously done a lot. And that's about it. Yvon Chouinard of Patagonia, just building a business in a different way than most people do. And then, yeah, I mean, entrepreneurs that I really look up to. I mean, I love learning from people like Sujin, Dan Martell, who built Clarity FM, and a couple others. I think he's doing some really interesting things these days. And there's just a bunch of people that I've gotten the privilege of knowing, just being based in San Francisco, that I think are really smart, that are a few years more down their like entrepreneurial building a product path than I am. People like my friend Ned, who sold his marketplace to GoDaddy a couple years ago, or the CEO of this startup called Town Squared, Row, who he's a first time the guy is fantastic at building a team. People like that, they're not like they're super known, but like they're good people getting their work done and doing it really, really well. So I like to try to tune out a lot of the noise in the, people that, are building a business about being an entrepreneur. Like that kind of thing doesn't really, interest me. But the people that are building like real businesses are the ones that I want to learn from.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a few names there I hadn't heard of. So we'll look them up, put them in the show notes, and I'm going to check some of those people out. Is there anything lately you've read that you really loved? A blog post, a book, an article?
Oof, that's a great question again, Dan. Got it. So I've been reading a lot over the last like number of months, just about. Well, first of all, like my favorite books that I've read that I think everyone should read, and I've reread a bunch of these multiple times, but I always to kind of highlight them when I'm talking to people about stuff that's really affected me. And I've actually been going back and rereading this one. Is the biggest one is the 4-Hour Workweek, which changed my life in 2008 when I read it for the first time, and I've just read it for probably the 4th or 5th time. And it changes the way that I think about business and think about building a life. So that's one that it's kind of top of mind because I've been reading it. And also Ben Horowitz's The Hard Thing About Hard Things. So Ben was an entrepreneur who built a business that then rebranded and went public and almost died, and then they saved it and then he sold it for a lot of money, and now he's an investor at N16Z, which is one of the best, most well-known VC firms here in Silicon Valley. And the hard thing about hard things is basically he's just like telling war stories, and like these are all the things that they went through and this is how they got through it. And it really just like encourages you, like when you're building a business, and this, Dan, and probably a lot of people listening to this know it, like there are points in your business where you're just like, oh boy, this is not good. Like this thing is going to die, like please just don't die. Like need this to work. And really like having impressed upon me the fact that really the only is if you like really screw it up, like you do something really bad or you give up. And so really like just don't give up, like keep going. And yeah, you might have like a down couple months or a down year or something like that, but like new things, and eventually like it's going to work out, right? And you're smart enough about it. You surround yourself with good people. Other stuff that I've been reading that I find to be really interesting. I've been reading a lot really about like the future of technology, and like the self-driving cars debate has been super interesting to me recently, like Uber and Lyft and kind of the things going on there. And then a lot around like the psychology of people and kind of how technology affects what we do these days. Reading about like, I read an article in The Guardian the other day. Why are we so bored? And basically it was saying like the thesis of the article is like everyone's bored, but we have all these awesome. We still bored, and basically the answer is we're overloaded and we're not taking the time to step back and be creative. We're not taking the time to unplug from our phone or turn off our TV or turn off our laptop and go for a run, go for a walk in the woods, go watch a movie. And I feel that like living in the middle of a city, one of the fastest moving cities in the world. Before this, in San Francisco. Before this, I lived in New York. And life just goes, and it goes so fast. And building my own business, the product, and consulting, and all that, like I just feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose, right? And so it was good to read that and to read other articles like that talking about it's normal, like being tired, and take the time that you need to step back.
Yeah, I definitely experienced that firsthand. I had a chance to go away to Maine for a week last week, and it's always good to kind of unplug and reset. It helps you look at things, look at the big picture, and look at things in a new way. So lastly, where can people find you online? Tell them where to find Credo and all that good stuff.
Totally. You can find me all over online. On Twitter is probably the best place to reach me. Twitter.com/DohertyJF, DohertyJF. My personal site is johnfdoherty.com. And those are my two like main personal channels. As far as Credo, getcredo.com, GETCREDO.com. Getcredo.com/blog is where a lot of is where I put out a lot of content, at least one post a week there. And on Twitter as well, also on Facebook. I've been trying to do more with Facebook and being more involved there. So facebook.com/ I think John F. Doherty business account. I don't really accept people that I don't know personally as friends there on my personal account, but facebook.com/ John F. Doherty. Yeah, so those are really the places that you can find me, and you'll see me writing, around the internet on different websites as well. So yeah, but those, especially my Twitter account, are where you can kind of see what what I'm up to and what Credo's up to and what I'm thinking about. And, pictures of my 100-pound Labrador. So if anything, follow me for that.
Excellent. And we'll link all those in the show notes. And it's funny you just mentioned your dog, because I was going to ask you, how's it going with your dog? How old? It's a she, right?
He is 2.5 years old. It's good. He's a long 4.5.